Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Fighters are seemingly lining up from around the block and around the world to take a crack at WBO Heavyweight champion Joseph Parker, with his promoter Duco Events confirming 3 offers have come in addition to other options already in play. Duco's David Higgins, who has arrived back in New Zealand, has told the New Zealand Herald, see the link to the story in the description bar, that he's fielded offers from those connected to Russian Alexander Povetkin, Australian Lucas Browne and China's Zhili Zhang. I know the Herald does go big on hamming up the Australia-New Zealand angle where the Browne fight is concerned because of the rivalry between the two countries. But I'm not going to start with that. I'm going to start with the real meters, Alexander Povetkin. Now this, for me, is the best fight that can be made from the available top 15 to choose from. Povetkin is certainly no joke and arguably has the strongest record out of any active heavyweight. And I do believe that. So while the 38-year-old has been tainted by the spectre of performance-enhancing drugs more latterly in his career, it certainly would be the most credible and dangerous fight that Parker could take. It would also likely be in Russia, so there's another factor against Parker. David Higgins says they have people working through the offers at the moment. The offers have to be real and they have to be substantial. Joe is currently on a well-deserved couple of weeks break. Hopefully we'll be in a position in 2 weeks' time to announce the next step. Everyone in boxing says going to Russia is very risky, so you can get spooked by that. But then again, going anywhere in boxing can be risky with things like judging and officials and performance-enhancing drugs. That can occur anywhere. So long as there's a substantial deal on the table and the risk and return stacks up, it would be considered. So for me, I think while this is certainly the toughest fight from the 15 available names in the rankings, it probably doesn't get made just because the risk is too high, and Povetkin is more of a guy that you fight when you're forced to rather than voluntarily. I mean, the only way it gets made is if the offer is absolutely ridiculous and they just have to accept it. Higgins also confirmed to the Herald that Zhili Zhang's connections have made an offer and that a fight against him and also Povetkin, so they could be held in December. So a fight in China, for me, I don't think that can be discounted out of hand at all, simply because the potential money that could be generated and available to Duco and Parker, it could be massive. I'm sure a heavyweight title fight staged in China would do big business. So you could have it you could have it in Macau, you could have it in Hong Kong, Beijing. I mean, there's just so many places that you could do it, and if it was on TV over there, it would be a big deal. So Parker, he would be the overwhelming favourite. So potentially it's got legs if the offer is right. You could see it getting made. But in saying that, it's probably not the fight that I want to see or most other fans would want to see. But you could see how they could want to make that just because of the potential money involved. I do note that the Herald says Zhang is a higher threat to Joseph Parker than Lucas Browne. Not sure what Lucas Browne would think about that. I certainly don't agree with that, but interesting nonetheless. But in terms of Browne and a potential Anzac clash, now that is interesting. I'm sure that Browne and his promoter Ricky Hatton, they would have to stump up several $1 million to get the fight made. I mean, for me, I would favour Parker heavily, but then again, with Lucas Browne, you can never count him out because of that power that he's got. So Parker would have to get on top and stay on top. So Higgins had this to say about a potential clash with Lucas Browne. I think it makes the most sense in New Zealand because Joe has an established fan base here at a sold-out Spark Arena. And for anyone who doesn't know, Spark Arena used to be called Vector Arena, so same place. Lucas hasn't sold out many cards in Australia. Time zone-wise, you could hold it in New Zealand or Australia. Melbourne has a boxing heritage. It works either way, so we would look at the options. A genuine heavyweight title challenge, New Zealand versus Australia. You might have cities putting up their hands to back it. It would have to be considered one of the biggest trans-Tasman fights ever. And he's right, in terms of a spectacle, it would be huge down under. Not sure the interest from the rest of the world would match it, but it certainly would be a very hyped occasion down here in New Zealand or Australia. I'd like to think someone would probably get knocked out in that fight too. And we know with Lucas Browne as well that he thinks he can beat Parker, saying he can knock him out. He actually said that after Parker beat Hughie Fury. And Browne has also been quick, straight after the article was up online almost, quick to get on social media and beat up the prospect of an Australian-New Zealand clash. See on screen. So now we have Higgins, who's basically said we've got this approximate 2-week time frame before a fight for Parker, or the voluntary defence, will be announced. So they've basically time boxed it. So sometime mid-October-ish, we could expect some sort of announcement. I mean, for me, some of this throwing out the names and airing them through the media, it's another out-and-out tactic to play respective parties against each other, drive the offers up. I mean, but that's what he should be doing. A good promoter would do that. It's a very good strategy. And we also know Kiyotaro Fujimoto, he's in the mix for a Parker fight. Bob Arum has spoken about getting Parker to fight in the States, potentially against someone like Bryant Jennings. Jennings would have to get ranked, so slimmer possibility there. And of course, Eddie Hearn is lurking in the background as well, and his fighter, Dillian Whyte, is without a fight right now. I mean, Dillian Whyte is probably the fight that fans most want to see out of the 15 names in the rankings. Might not be the best fight, because I think Povetkin versus Parker would be the toughest fight, but in terms of a matchup and the sort of hype and build-up and the credibility of the fight in terms of building each other's profile, just everything about it, a Whyte-Parker fight makes a lot of sense. It's a very winnable fight for Joseph Parker. I know a lot of people have been judging him quite harshly from recent performances, including the Fury performance, but I think he would stack up pretty well against Whyte. Whether that fight gets made ultimately comes down to how many millions Eddie Hearn is wanting to put up to buy a shot. And that's what it is. All these guys, all these promoters, they are buying a shot for Joseph Parker's WBO belt. It's not guaranteed, because I'm sure Parker's going to come to fight, but win or lose, he'll walk away with millions of dollars. So I think Higgins is playing this one pretty smart. He's getting it out there. He's going to drive up the interest and get people talking about it, and obviously probably drive up the offers as well. So we'll have to wait and see who wins what. Effectively will be a bidding war. What do you make of it? Who do you think is going to face Joseph Parker next? I mean, now we've actually basically heard about half a dozen names out of the 15 that we can see. It's up on screen here. Who would you like to see? What's the most realistic? Drop a comment, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.